We're here in Sproul Plaza, UC Berkeley, historical location of the free speech movement in the United States. This is Tina Kimmel, a veteran intactivist. Tina, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're out here today with Bay Area intactivists and Bloodstained Men protesting baby circumcision in the United States?
I come from a Jewish background. This is one of the reasons that I'm not participating actively in any Jewish life, because so many Jews, something like half of them, feel like circumcision is central to Judaism. That makes it a religion of child abuse, and I don't want to have any part of that. I feel so strongly about it, so strongly. I mean, in any other context, holding down a helpless, protesting infant and cutting off sensitive, healthy, undiseased tissue for any reason at all is considered child abuse. Child sexual assault, as a matter of fact. And so, therefore, it's obviously a crime. You know, you do that to a girl, it's clearly a crime. It's a federal felony, as a matter of fact. So, one way to look at it is that's a crime being committed against boys. Now, you know, that's a violation of the 14th Amendment. They should be protected because all genders should be protected equally. But another perspective is that circumcision in a religious context can be considered a hate crime because it is being done to these victims because of their religion. Of course, it's the religion of their parents. They didn't choose it. But that's the definition of a hate crime. A crime being committed against a person who, on the basis of that person's membership in a group. So, circumcision is a hate crime.
Now, Tina, I'm sure you're aware that that those statements will be considered very controversial and inflammatory by many Jewish moms and dads.
Yeah, anti-Semitic. Let's say it. Anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism.
And how do you answer that accusation? Because it's an unfair accusation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Let me just deal with the concept of anti-Semitism. It's just a powerful tool. And these pro-circumcision fetishists, you know, child molesters, pedophiles, use the cudgel, the tool, the weapon of calling somebody anti-Semitic if they oppose it. It's just an outrage. We
know that there are many wonderful, thoughtful, compassionate Jewish men and women, parents, like Lisa Braver Moss, like yourself, Rebecca Wald in Florida, who are pushing for another type of welcome for Jewish baby boys into the world, into the nation, into Jewish life, and that's Brit Shalom.
That's right. Brit Shalom. It's a welcoming ceremony that doesn't cut up the guest of honor, just like in the past 40 or 50 years we've done with girls. It was noticed that there was no official ceremony for welcoming girls into the world because, in fact, you know, a daily prayer in the Old Testament is thank you, God, for not making me a woman. So, you know, that's a whole nother aspect of Judaism. But the modern world, modern Jewish world welcomes girls. They have called welcoming ceremonies and then a bat mitzvah instead of a bar mitzvah when they're 13. And so we espouse the idea of welcoming boys into the world in a non-cutting ceremony. My son is intact and my two grandsons are intact, and we welcome them to the world in a peaceful, happy, welcoming Jewish ceremony.
And how old is your son?
My older grandson, my son is in his 30s and my grandson is now 18, my older grandson. They're all completely happy. They have their entire bodies. There's nothing diseased or wrong with their body. You know, 80% of the men in the world go through life with a foreskin that they're very, very grateful.
And on a larger scale, we see on Facebook one of the arguments, and these are from these poor American moms that have no idea about the larger world out there. They say, well, he will thank me someday because he won't have to get it done as an adult. How do you respond to people who think that circumcision is inevitable in a man's life?
I can't believe they're still saying that. I mean, obviously it's not true in this most remote sense. There's essentially not even any diseases, right, that would make it necessary to get circumcised. If anybody tells you, or anyone you know, they need to get circumcised, that doctor is lying. There is not a single cause, not a single reason to get circumcised. Even if you're in a car wreck and you had terrible damage to your foreskin, you stitch it back up. You don't cut it off. You just consider what do people do with women in this culture and with men's body parts in most of the world. It's not only a healthy, normal tissue, it's exquisite, full of nerves. It's the height of mammalian evolution, 1 billion years of mammalian evolution with reproduction. This is a reproductive organ. It's perfect, it's exquisite, it's an instrument of pleasure.
Has your son and or your grandsons thank you for being an intactivist grandma?
Absolutely, they certainly have. Absolutely, they're so grateful.
And what do you say to the people who accuse intactivists of being against baby boy circumcision in the United States, but that we should focus our attention on the problem of female genital mutilation, female circumcision in the world?
Well, there's plenty of FGM that goes on here too. Lots of people already, it's interesting. In our culture, where we don't do it, we're horrified, right? In cultures where they don't cut boys, they are horrified that we cut boys. So it's just a visceral, trained, enculturated response. In any case, plenty of people are focusing on female genital mutilation from our culture, which, is a little bit of cultural imperialism, but, increasingly in the cultures where there is the presence of FGM or female genital cutting, that more and more people, of course, are working on it. There's armies of people working on that issue. We are the people who care about boys here.
And do you have an appeal to those people to help us in our struggle in the United States?
Many do, of course. Many do understand that it's exactly the same issue. In fact, do you know that what's cut off of boys in America is more tissue, more erogenous tissue, more nerves than are what are cut off of women. In the majority of cases of female cutting, they get less cut off than what we cut off of boys. Why aren't you horrified to hear that? Are you horrified to hear that? Good. Work with us.
Thank you, Tina Kimmel.
Thank you, Brother Kate, for all you do.